People say your 20s are the most important years of your life, and I turn 20 next year. So I've been researching every single thing that could go wrong, and in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what not to do if you want to be successful. Now let's just jump straight into the first of our 5 categories, your career. What most people do, and this is mistake number 1, is choosing a career purely for the money aspect. You know, if you just rely on money to be your main motivator for a career, after about 10 to 15 years, you're going to end up burned out. Every job will pay you a certain salary, of course, and some are higher than others, but you need to find that medium place between high salary and actually fulfilling work. So if you want to help people, go become a doctor. Don't go do software engineering because it's what your grandma told you makes the most money. Now, mistake number 2 is that people do not use the talents they find as a kid to help them pick their career as an adult. If you're someone who's naturally good at math, then maybe you should go for an engineering role, go for a role that's going to require a lot of analytical thinking, and vice versa. If you're a super creative person, go be an artist, a thumbnail designer, a video editor, any of the above. You play into those strengths, and naturally you're going to be more efficient and just accomplish more at your tasks. To me, talent is a good indication of strength and passion, and you can use your talents to help you decide a career you're going to be successful in. Then you could build upon that and eventually become super proficient at your job and maybe become a senior. But that's mistake number 3, worrying too much about a title. Oftentimes people say they don't want to be a certain role like an analyst, they want to be an associate. Instead, focus on mastering your skills and building upon those so you can either get out of the company or work your way up faster to get a real increase to your salary by becoming more valuable. But the corporate life isn't really for everyone. There's a lot of good and bad to it. There's a lot of security and a lot of safety in it, but there's limited salary growth. You can expect an 8% raise maybe every few years, and that's not enough for a lot of people. So mistake number 4 is settling down on a career before you've even tried to start your own business. Now, starting a business is not for everyone. That's totally not what I'm saying. But if you've ever found yourself as a person with maybe a slight passion for a certain thing, why not try to monetize it? Why not try to build something yourself rather than just work for someone else? In your 20s is the best time to take on that risk. You may not have as much responsibility as you will in your 30s, but oftentimes people settle down in their 20s and they just don't allow themselves to take any further risks. But we will touch on risk more in the last category we're going to cover. Otherwise, the last mistake for the career category is not developing your soft skills. Your communication, your networking, your determination, any of those things all fall in that category. These skills are developed through constant repetition. If you're allowing yourself to be lazy when you wake up in the morning, it's going to translate to your job, and your 20s are the time to push yourself to really develop new skills. The soft skills can translate to any job. Whether you're a salesman or you're a server, you still have to learn how to communicate with people. And learning those skills will be so valuable when it comes to building your own business in the future, communicating with your kids, learning to speak with your spouse correctly. All those things are so crucial. So soft skills translate from career to finances to relationship management. They touch on every single one of our categories, and you need to make sure you develop them early on. Now, by avoiding all of those career mistakes, you'll most likely have a job that pays your bills and makes you feel satisfied, but no amount of money will make up for super bad financial planning. So the next category we're going to go over is the 5 mistakes most 20-year-olds make with their personal finances. The first mistake is the most common yet the most obvious. 20-year-olds spend more than they make. This is so backwards because most people understand to save money, you need to spend less than you make. But in your 20s is when a lot of prices start to accumulate on you. You want to move into a new house, you want furniture, you're getting married, you're having children. These things stack up and it ends up piling on top of you until you're spending more than you make. By spending more than you make, that doesn't mean going into the negative on your bank account. It means using your credit to cover things you can't normally purchase, which is mistake number 2, not building and misusing credit. Now, your credit score is an imaginary number that is tied to your ability and consistency when borrowing. Banks, dealerships, your potential jobs are all going to look at this and determine how risky you are and how smart you are with your finances. The higher the number, the lower the payments you have to make. The lower the number, the higher the payments. This is going to really pay off if you can build it and maintain it, because when you go to eventually buy a home, you'll get a better interest rate the lower your credit is. But if you were borrowing a lot and not paying it back, that's going to look really bad on your credit and it's just going to plummet. So instead, your 20s are a time to be financially smart because, again, you're not going to have that much responsibility. You can really focus on maintaining a consistent savings amount and just build that over time. And this will allow you to get the better interest rates when you're ready to finally settle down in your 30s. And to put a down payment on a house, it's going to take a lot of savings. But mistake number 3 is actually letting your savings rot in your bank account. Now, that sounds super counterintuitive because this entire time I've been preaching to you about saving your money by spending less than you make. But letting your money sit in a bank account will accumulate you a very low interest rate, maybe 0.25% of your money annually. Rather, you need to take your money out of the basic savings account that your bank probably offers and get it in what's called a high yield savings accounts. Now, a high yield savings account are usually offered by banks that do not have physical locations. Like Capital One is the one I personally use. This is not sponsored by Capital One at all, but it offers me around 4 to 5% APY, which means 4 to 5% of my money that I have in the account is given back to me annually for nothing, just for leaving your money in the bank and allowing them to make loans with it. But that's a whole different topic. We're not going to go into the economics of how loans work. Instead, we're going to pivot into how investing works, which is mistake number 4. Young people do not invest enough. A Roth IRA is an interest-free individual retirement account. Now, basically what that means is you could put in $7,000 max a year if you make under a certain amount of money. And over time, this is going to accumulate eventually, hopefully, to millions for you. And when you take that money out, all the gains you got from your investments do not get taxed. So if you have $2 million in there, you take the $2 million. Uncle Sam does not get his hand in it. He takes no cut out of it. You just keep it all. But if you use what's called an individual retirement account, it will get taxed, but you will not pay taxes when you're first putting it in. So the money will come straight from your check to the individual retirement account and never get taxed. But when you take it out, it will get taxed. Instead, a Roth IRA, you pay the taxes up front, and then you take it out and you get more in return. But that's just 2 types of retirement accounts. There's a bunch of different ways to invest. Just make sure you do a lot of research and you get very educated and get a financial advisor if you need one. But something you do not need a financial advisor to tell you about is mistake number 5, not avoiding lifestyle inflation. Now, lifestyle inflation is just a relative term to explain as our salaries increase, our spending increases, and people save less as they make more. And as you heard me say earlier, with people spending more than they make, this is super detrimental to your life, because in your 20s, you're going to see a lot of promotions and a lot of jumps in income. And if you don't know how to react when you get that increased income or bonus, you're going to just go down the water. With all the excess bonuses, increases to your salary, and everything else that comes with being 20 in a new field, you need to make sure that you are treating that money as if it's not real. Take that money and put it in your high yield savings. If you avoid the lifestyle inflation, you're going to end up making a lot more in the future. While having your finances in order is necessary to eventually become financially free, it's only one piece of your happiness puzzle. Humans are naturally social creatures, and we crave this attention and interaction with others. The next category I'm going to cover are the social aspects and mistakes of being a 20-year-old. Now, the first mistake that most people make is trying way too hard to fit in. I mean, the average person is probably not who you want to be, and that's not a diss to the average person, but you probably want to do something greater. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you're never going to accomplish anything great if you spend your time trying to be average. If you're trying to act like the average person and fit in with the average person and not get judged by them, I mean, you're gonna end up being the average person. So putting that much effort into trying to be average and trying to fit in and everything is just an absolute waste of your time, and is going to end up having the reverse effect of what you want. And most of the time, people try to fit in because they are scared. They're scared of being judged by their other peers. They're scared of being judged by friends, family, bosses, etc. And mistake number 2 is not being as outgoing as you want to because you are scared. You're scared of what other people are going to think about you. You're scared of what will happen if you're more outgoing. And when you talk to people who are 60 and 70, their biggest regret is oftentimes not being outgoing as they wanted, not taking the risk that they should have. And if it's such a common regret for old people, it's probably for a good reason, and you should listen. So instead of being scared of the repercussions of being outgoing, you should be the most extroverted, best version of yourself, because that's who you truly are. But one thing that can limit you from being the person that you want to eventually become is toxic friend groups and toxic circles, which is mistake number 3. People staying inside of these toxic friend groups because it's comfortable. Oftentimes, it's hard to tell if a friend or a friend group is toxic because you have rose-tinted glasses when it comes to the people you care about. They may be in your ear with negativity here and there, and you don't mind it because that's my friend. It doesn't matter. But all those thoughts being put into your head are going to have bad effects on your subconscious and your ability to become a better person. So you need to try your absolute best to get outside of that circle. Go explore new things. Become your own person individually, away from the toxicity. And something that's even more toxic is social media validation, which is mistake number 4, craving too much of it. Having social media is perfectly fine. I mean, everyone does it. It's a great way to stay connected with friends and family. But when it becomes something that you're posting for validation, or you are checking what other people are doing and judging them based off that, that's when it really becomes an issue. Our world has made it way too easy to take a look into everyone's life and get a quick glance of what you think may be going on, and build your own rumors and your own thoughts of who they are in your head. But that can have the reverse effect, because when you post on your social media craving validation, people are going to put their judgment at you. And if you want their validation, that means you care about what they think about. And if you care when they say something negative, it's going to get you as well. But we'll get away from the social part of this and look at this from a business perspective. Networking is your net worth. So mistake number 5 is not networking enough in your 20s. The people you meet in your 20s, especially if they're younger, are probably going to be the most ambitious, motivated, and driven people you're going to meet in your entire life. Because When you're 20, it's totally normal to just go up, shake someone's hand, talk to them, and just say, hey, I want to hang out with you. I want to learn more about what you do for your work, because you're still trying to figure everything out and people are more accepting of that. You only know what you've learned or been told. So if you're not going out there and talking to more people, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Now we've covered the most basic mistakes 20-year-olds make in social environments, but what about the relationships with the people closest to us? We're going to cover that in category 4, which is close relationships. Like I've said numerous times, your 20s are going to be busy, they're going to be hard, and you're going to be spending a lot of time grinding. But mistake number 1 is not making enough time to keep your relationships with friends and family. This is not true for everyone, but your family is usually there for you, and they're going to listen to you regardless of what you've done or what you will do. They don't care if you're super rich or they don't care if you're poor. They're going to be there and they're going to listen to you. If that is true for you, you have to do your best to maintain that relationship with them, because you don't want to just work too hard and forget about everyone else. But if you don't find yourself on that side with a family who's super supportive and always talking to you, then mistake number 2 is allowing their judgment to dictate your life. Once you're 18 or out of the house, whichever comes first, you're your own person. You can make your own decisions. And if you have a family that's constantly harping negativity in your ear and telling you to just do one thing and you really feel like you don't want to do it, don't. And if they're in your ear with that negativity, you need to get away from that. But a lot of times people don't, and that's mistake number 3. Staying in contact with people who drain you. Your 20s are a time for building and learning about yourself and creating new things you find cool. If you allow people to drain you, they're gonna take away your energy and focus away from what you really care about. So you have to do your best to kind of wean those people out of your life. You don't need to be an asshole. You don't need to be rude. You just need to gradually let go. But not everyone is instantly negative and draining. Sometimes we allow that to happen. You see, if you're not setting effective and good boundaries, people are gonna walk all over you, and that's mistake number 4. You need to make sure every time you go into a new friendship, a new relationship, or even when you're looking back on previous ones, you set acceptable boundaries that benefited you and them. If you just allow someone else to take control of everything, it's not going to go the way you want, of course, because everyone has their own individual motivations and individual desires, and you have to do your best to make sure everything aligns with your own. And when you can do that, you'll avoid mistake number 5, which is not finding a good set of friends to live your 20s with. Having a great group of friends will be astronomical to your success, because they could be your support network, they could be people you just talk to, they can be people you have fun with. All those things matter so much when you're young. Not everyone's gonna have a spouse and kids yet, so you can get really close with the people you care about, and they'll teach you things about yourself and teach you general things you never would have thought you'd learn. And if you avoid those 5 mistakes, you're gonna have the best close relationships with the people you care about, and that will be so crucial to your success. But there's some general life mistakes people often overlook. So category 5 is going to be a general life category of everything I couldn't fit somewhere else. I said I would touch on this more in the beginning of the video, and that is mistake number 1 of this category, not taking enough risks. So if you ever feel like you're gonna maybe regret something in the future that you didn't do, you need to act on it right now. And the risks are gonna put you in uncomfortable situations that you really don't want to deal with. And sometimes that sucks, but mistake number 2 is not challenging yourself enough, and by taking risks, you're gonna eventually challenge yourself with something you didn't think you could overcome. This will build you up to become a better person, become more efficient, a better learner, all the great productivity hacks that I've mentioned ever before. Start by challenging yourself to do something new. But challenging yourself is not going to be enough on its own. When you face that challenge, you need to try your best to learn. And what do you think mistake number 3 is? Never trying to learn. So people will go through their 20s living life the same way they did at 18, not challenge themselves and not learn and not grow. And those are all horrible things, because your 20s are a time to build and create a new version of yourself. And the only way to do that is just like building a statue. You take your hammer or your whatever it's called and you chip. And then you have a beautiful statue, but it takes a very long time to get there. And you will never get there if you do not avoid mistake number 4, never believing in yourself. You have to have full faith that you can accomplish anything, not just in your 20s, but your whole life. I mean, you should have absolute certainty that anything you touch, you're gonna be successful, because anything less than that, you're gonna fail. But you cannot do everything yourself. I'm not stupid and I'm not crazy. I know how important other people are to your success as an individual. And if you do not avoid our last mistake, mistake number 5 is never asking for help, you're never gonna succeed. I got some very wise words from a friend's dad in high school. Ask for what you need. Now, this is something simple that everyone understands, but when I said it out loud, it had like this effect on me. And I promise you, if you start asking for things that way, people are gonna respect you a lot more, and they're gonna probably give you the solution more often. And now that I've covered the 25 most common mistakes that most 20-year-olds make, I hope you're feeling great about ages 20 to 29, but how are you feeling about 2025? Well, if it's anything less than absolutely spectacular, you need to go watch my ultimate guide for how to achieve your goals in 2025.